We have the MVP Bowl. The Baltimore Ravens visiting the San Francisco 49ers. The shortest odds for MVP are Brock Purdy, they are Lamar Jackson, and in many books, they are Christian McCaffrey. So you got the three leading contenders, according to the markets, for MVP in this game. Very likely the winner of this game and the player on the winning team that dominates, which could be one of those three players, that player will be the leading contender for MVP. Crazy lines in this one. Opened at 4, San Francisco -4. It's now in some places San Francisco -6, but only 19% of the money on the San Francisco 49ers right now, 81% of the money. That tells you a lot of wise guys are liking the Bengals and liking the Ravens. A lot of value on the Ravens in this game. Let's talk about some picks. Kerner, any best bet you got on the board for this one?
So I like Zay Flowers over 44.5 receiving yards. He's actually coming off the worst game in what's been a very strong rookie season for him. He only caught one pass for 7 yards last week. So I think this is a good time to buy low, especially since this should be could be a rare trailing game script for the Ravens. They've only trailed 7% of the time this year, which is by far the lowest rate in the league. Even the Niners have trailed at a higher rate. And they've been the third most run-heavy team with the lead. But when trailing, they're right around league average pass rate. So I think, they're 6-point underdogs here. I think it's crazy that they're that big of an underdog, but it just goes to show that this could be a rare trailing game script from them. So they're going to be passing at a much higher rate. And, obviously this isn't an easy matchup. The 49ers ranked 4th in pass DVOA, but they do use zone coverage at a top 10 rate. And Flowers averages nearly a half yard more per route run against zone. So I think this is a sneaky spot for Flowers to have a big game. This is a big game and they're going to be throwing a lot more. So I like the upside we're getting here with Zay Flowers over 44.5 receiving yards.
I want a bit of side in this game, Kerner. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah. Good luck there.
Simon, what do you got?
Yeah, taking the Ravens here, and it's just the simple fact the 49ers, they are incredible. Are they the team everyone's making them out to be? This incredible juggernaut that can't lose, that has no weakness? No, they have weaknesses. The Ravens are the kind of team that can't exploit those weaknesses. So the fact this number's gone up so much, Chad's a little scary. I can't believe it's actually at 6 at this point. It was a no-brainer at 5, no-brainer at 5.5, no-brainer at 6. You just bet Lamar in this spot. Chris, who's coming up, is going to hit you with all the numbers, why you want to bet this spot. I'm not going to steal those numbers, but there's just a lot of data and trends that back in the Ravens. But it's also the kind of spot where you just want to do it against the 49ers. They haven't played in a competitive game in, 2 months, Chad? They've just been blowing teams out by 10, 20 points, and it's because they are so great on offense. Here comes a great team defensively in the Ravens. I mean, Kyle Hamilton is the best safety in football now, Chad? I mean, it's debatable. This kid is incredible. And their defense, they use him like they used Ed Reed, right? They line him up all over the field, put him in different spots, don't let you know where he's going to line up. Big deal. Big deal for a guy that he can cover McCaffrey out of the backfield. There's not many teams that have a guy that you can line up on McCaffrey. And then you look at Roquan Smith in the middle, another guy that's going to give McCaffrey problems. And then offensively, we know it's a big deal. They've lost Mark Andrews, right? That's a big deal to this Ravens offense. Likely's been playing really well. I mean, last week, you saw Lamar trusting him in those 50-50 balls, which is a big deal. Like, he's putting the balls downfield, trusting Likely to out-jump guys, and he's doing it. So, matchup-wise, I see why this number's gone up a little bit. Like, I've talked to some pros, and I get their view. You have the 49ers at home in a primetime game. Historically, Shanahan's good in these spots, but I don't think people are respecting Lamar enough. I really don't. I think too much doubt is being put on Lamar and this Ravens offense. They won't be able to keep up and be competitive in this game. So, take the points, people. I cannot believe it is up to 6. I thought it would get there by Sunday night because all the teasers and parlays were going to come in and bump this number up. But here we are Saturday morning. It's at 6, people. I would definitely go grab it before it drops down.
All right. Raybon, Simon foreshadowed a little bit of your thinking. What do you got?
Yeah, I like the Ravens here as well. It's tough to bet the Ravens because, usually they're favored because they're good and they're not very profitable as favorites. The line tends to be paying a little bit of tax, but it's rare when you get this Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh coach team as a dog. And Jackson in his career has only been an underdog 12 times in the regular season, 11-1 against the spread. covering by 8.8 points per game on average. 6-0 against the spread against the NFC when he's either an underdog or a favorite by under 4 points. So, and never has failed to cover as a dog versus the NFC. And just think about it. A lot of people are saying this is a Super Bowl preview, and we know in the Super Bowl, you would never really see, unless it's a mismatch, like a spread this high. Usually it's 3.5, maybe you get to 4, but it has to really be a mismatch. This is not a mismatch. Niners, I do believe, are the best team in football. I think Brock Purdy should win the MVP, but Lamar can make his claim right here. And the Ravens, you're going to get the best effort from the Ravens because they're insulted by this number. They've talked about it publicly that, not just the 5.5, 6, whatever the number is, but just being underdogs, period, they felt like was unfair, which, I mean, they probably don't know enough about betting because Niners are always going to get that home field. But you got to take the Ravens here, like Simon said. And another trend, every time Simon and I have agreed on a primetime side, I'm pretty sure we're undefeated this year. We've disagreed a lot, especially earlier in the year, but I feel like we've been aligned more down the stretch here, and we're pretty hot. My guy Stuckey also just murders the Ravens ATS, so he's on them as well. So a lot of reasons to like the Ravens +6.
Yeah, look, earlier in the week, I was very much leaning on the Niners, mainly because, and our producers are already trying to hint at this in the chat, I just want Christian McCaffrey to win the MVP. And that's really what I'm thinking about. But the truth is, yeah, the Ravens should not be 6-point underdogs in this game. I bet him at 5.5. I'm kind of bummed that I pulled the trigger at 5.5. I was worried it wouldn't get to 6. But this team is really good, and it's hard to face Lamar Jackson, and that speed and sort of the way he can maneuver in the pocket and make last-minute decisions. And also the Niners are struggling, and Raybon, you pointed out Stuckey in the Sunday Six-Pack this week, noted that the Niners do have some injury issues on the defensive front that could impact how they're going to defend against a multidimensional Ravens team. So I will split the difference here. I'm going with Simon and I'm going with Raybon and the Baltimore Ravens as 6-point underdogs.
Let's move now to the Monday Night Football preview, or the Christmas Day main event between the Ravens and 49ers. Ravens 6-point underdogs on the road, but we've got a nice total here at 47, implying we're going to see some scoring in this game, despite it being a defensive matchup with two teams that rank in the top 5 in overall defensive DVOA. All right, so let's look at the touchdown odds in this game. And of course, if it's a Niners game, you know that Christian McCaffrey is immediately going to be at the top at -225 to score. Right behind him is Charlie's boy Deebo Samuel at +110. And then you've got Gus Edwards at +150 with no Keaton Mitchell now. And Brandon Ayuk at +150. George Kittle also at +150. And then to round out the top 8, you've got Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, and Isaiah Likely, all Ravens. Gentlemen, when you look at this matchup, it immediately screams defense because, again, both of these teams, especially their secondaries, top 5 in defensive DVOA. But the Niners' defensive DVOA defending the run and even just rushing touchdowns. We have seen some rushing touchdowns allowed by this defense. The the Cardinals ran for 2 touchdowns last week with James Conner and DeMarcado. And even Zach Charbonnet was able to score on this defense. So, Charlie, when you look at this matchup, do you immediately just gravitate to Deebo because, again, how near and dear he is to your heart and how much profit he has made you over the last few weeks? Or do you immediately want to look down the board and maybe look at somebody like a long shot?
I like Deebo Samuel here just because of his dual threat ability. I think that anyone that can do multiple things just like allows for a higher ceiling, especially in a primetime matchup where Shanahan's going to bring out his entire bag of tricks, but that's kind of why I like taking a stab also on Juszczyk at north of 10-1. He did it again. He did it about a month and a half or 2 months ago in prime time as well. In big games, Shanny tries to get guys involved when everyone's expecting it to go to McCaffrey. So I like taking a stab on Juszczyk. Obviously, just a little bit of a sprinkle. I'll probably end up on Deebo at some capacity in this game. And then on the Ravens side, we talked about it earlier. I'm probably gonna go with Lamar Jackson to find the end zone. No Keaton Mitchell now, so I think there's even more of a reason for him to use his legs a little bit more. And he's been double-digit carries each of the last 3 weeks. And in the biggest games of the season, you got to use your legs. That's what we've seen with Josh Allen. I think that's what we're seeing with Lamar Jackson as they go for that #1 seed in the AFC. So that's my 3. But my favorite is going to be Screaming Juice once he finds the end zone.
I love Juice. And
Yeah.
I think it was a couple years ago against Seattle. I bet him, I think it was a Boxing Day game. He was around 11-1 to score a touchdown. And it's always nice to have a little sprinkle on the fullback, especially when he scores. I was actually a little hurt, though, Charlie, when you brought up that touchdown that he scored, because it was against the Cowboys in primetime. But for me, you check, I'm with you. Isaiah Likely, I think I have to keep going back to at plus 333. Anything over plus 300, I think, for Isaiah Likely, especially as he has now assumed this Mark Andrews role in this offense. And if we closed our eyes and just said, okay, Mark Andrews is now the starter in this game and Isaiah Likely isn't playing, Mark Andrews' odds would be closer to what you're seeing for George Kittle, around plus 150.
Yep.
But what we have seen so far in this offense with Likely is he's running the kind of the same route tree. He's gotten 19 targets over the last 3 games, 2 touchdowns as well against a Rams defense and against the Jaguars. And again, I brought this up when you were talking about Trey McBride, BMAT, about the type of volume and success that we have seen now for these slot receivers.
Yep.
That's kind of another reason why I was looking at Zay Flowers as well, where we've seen, Tyler Boyd and Christian Kirk and even Jordan Addison have success on this defense, those speedy receivers, slots in the middle. So Isaiah Likely is who I like to score a touchdown in this game. Are you with me, BMAT?
Oh yeah, I mean, I love Isaiah Likely. He's always got a special place. Cashed his first touchdown score last year and then last week. So I just think, you're right. It's very rare that you're going to find a guy that's getting the volume that he does. That's proven it now 2 weeks in a row with explosive plays, and scoring touchdowns. Where it's like, all right, you're still getting him above plus 300. It's kind of a must play. Love use check. And, this just feels like a game. I'm probably not going to bet it, but I was tempted, especially since I looked at Odell Beckham Jr. last week, where, a guy like him coming off his, worst game since week 8, where he was completely blanked, he might get a look or two in the end zone, but that's just kind of where I'm at with that.
All right, BMAT, before we move on to the Secret Santa bets, I wanted to bring this up because I was on Green Dot Daily on Friday. And when I was speaking with Maria Marino, we were talking about the most bet touchdown props of the week.
Oh, goodness.
She had brought up that Melvin Gordon was brought up as one of the most bet touchdown props of the week. He was around 5-1. And I was just going to say, are you was that you who bet that? Do you know people who bet Melvin Gordon at 5-1? Because I'm kind of just shocked that he was as one of the most bet players, and that I think I would have believed it if it was the least bet touchdown prop of the game. I would have been Melvin Gordon, but not most bet.
Yeah, I guess I don't have friends that have bet Melvin Gordon. The people I don't know,
my homies don't bet Melvin.
No, yeah, all my homies hate Melvin Gordon. No, I'm kidding. But look, I heard when you told me that, I'm like, Melvin Gordon, I was expecting to hear another name that I've already bet. And I'm like, wait, no, definitely. That is not worth it to me. Now, if he scores, I'll gladly have egg on my face. But Melvin Gordon isn't even someone I've looked at. So I kind of feel all right about that now.
Yeah, I feel like you could probably have better probability of betting on him to have a fumble than score a touchdown.
Fair
facing this defense, the fourth in the pecking order, essentially, to score a touchdown. I was shocked when I saw that. So I just wanted to ask you guys that question before we move on.